We have tons of news coming out as usual. We've got Nasdaq, XRP, Stellar, and more. We've got the European Central Bank talking about integrating distributed ledger, extending the T+2 operating hours. Bank of Japan talking crypto and distributed ledger. A really interesting document coming out of Visa, tied directly in with Chainlink and Visa's VTAP. I'm going to do a little bit of a deeper dive into some Chainlink stuff here. I think that doesn't get as much love as we see a lot of ecosystems, and Chainlink is integrated into all the powerhouses that we've been talking about for years and years on this channel. So lots to get into, and I'm just going to get rolling with it. So buckle up. I'm going to rapid fire through the beginning here, but we do have SBI Holdings and SBI Shinsei putting out a notice that they're going to be investing in Circle. SBI Holdings and SBI Shinsei hereby announce the strategic investment in Circle Internet Group, world's largest U.S. dollar-backed stablecoin, in conjunction with Circle's listing on the New York Stock Exchange on June 5th. Total investment amounts to $50 million, with $25 million each contributed by SBI Holdings and SBI Shinsei. They do mention down here, 2016 SBI invested in Ripple, a company developing international remittance tech, utilizing the crypto asset XRP, and currently holds about 9% of the shares as its largest external shareholder. Also have a consultation paper about the extension of T2 operating hours coming out of the European Central Bank. Notably within this, we have additionally T2 operating times, longer T2 operating times. And we saw something similar with Nasdaq earlier this year. All this stuff on the back end of blockchain and distributed ledger, operating 24/7. Longer T2 operating times would facilitate the introduction and running of innovative solutions that are emerging in the retail, large value, or security settlement segments. This is particularly relevant for the retail digital euro, extended securities trading, or settling wholesale financial market transactions with new technologies like distributed ledger technology, which have in common the technical ability to operate around the clock. This is, for instance, the case of the work program of the Euro system is carrying out on the settlement of distributed ledger technology-based transactions in central bank money. As is the case for instant payments today, participants in these innovative solutions may face the challenges of managing their liquidity during times when T2 is not operational. You can see also here liquidity risks. This could include, for instance, a digital euro or innovative solution using new tech such as distributed ledger tech. So again, you have the European Central Bank talking about leveraging distributed ledger technology. You see that kind of incremental countdown from T2 to T1, and then eventually we'll get to T0 and atomic settlement with all the traditional money out there. Nasdaq confirming XRP, Solana, Cardano, and Stellar XLM in benchmark index via a new SEC filing. They've officially filed an SEC Form 8K for the hashtag Nasdaq Crypto Index US ETF, confirming it has reconstituted its benchmark index to include 4 new digital assets, those being Cardano or ADA, Solana or Sol, Stellar or XLM, and XRP. We also have the Bank of Japan putting out a document talking about crypto, large value payments such as those between financial institutions and those for trade related settlements. There's various initiatives currently underway. This is global. I mean, there's a reason I'm giving you guys this kind of broad, high level cookie cutter stuff, because it's very global what's going on. Various initiatives currently underway, including projects led by groups of advanced economies or emerging economies, and they are racing to make headway. One example is Project Agora, led by Bank for International Settlements, or BIS, which involves many private financial institutions and several central banks, including the Bank of Japan. A new type of payment infrastructure is being planned and tested as part of the project, in which both commercial bank deposits and central bank deposits are placed on a common platform using distributed ledger technology, thereby combining them and allowing for safe and efficient cross-border payments. The fact that these efforts regarding international payment systems are moving forward in a competitive manner cannot be separated from the issue of economic security. They're getting into Russia and Ukraine here. Digital currency, digital currency, digital currency. They give some hypothetical worlds here. Hypothetical world B, a world without the yen. And a digital society, crypto assets could be one such instrument. You guys can go and find that and read through if you'd like. So this is a post. It looks like, obviously, from a Link community member. I actually found the Visa VTAP document and then just kind of did some random targeted searches on Twitter here too. But the Link Marines are always out in strong numbers here. Definitely have talked about Link before, but never kind of to the point of doing even like a mini little deep dive, which I guess this video will kind of get into here. But saying Visa and Chainlink, here's the facts. Integrated for real-time data, integrated to leverage the cross-chain functionality of CCIP, integrated for security, and at the end of the day, powering Visa's thought process for VTAP, for programmable finance, with the BBVA pilot in 2025 on Ethereum as a prime example. So here's the document, and this I stumbled across this morning. There's definitely some other stuff to kind of deep dive into here, but I do think a lot of the times in crypto, it's really easy to get kind of siloed into our little echo chambers. Chainlink has consistently popped up for years. I know I've talked about them before a decent amount of times, but never to the point of like walking through some slides and stuff that I find interesting. So this is what came out. I think this is over the past day or couple of days. Transforming global payments, the role of tokenized money and funds in cross-border transactions. This is the interim report for the digital Hong Kong dollar, pilot program phase 2. You can see in collaboration with ANZ Bank, China AMC, and Fidelity International. ANZ rings a bell to me, and I was trying to do some diving, and I'll show you a little bit of it. Ties to Hedera back in the day with their $A DC stablecoin. But this is the digital Hong Kong dollar pilot program background. I'm not going to read a 15-page document for you guys here, but I am going to show you some of the interesting kind of imagery in here. So this is this kind of the architecture that they use in the pilot, exchanging an Australian stablecoin or ASDC, I'll just say, and this is from ANZ Bank, against a Hong Kong CBDC or the digital Hong Kong dollar using Chainlink CCIP, ANZ and Fidelity. Payment versus payment. And you can see, initial focus, then ANZ's DAS private chain, bridged in the middle here with CCIP for PVP in the payments. And then Ethereum Sepolia, which is a wrapped contract of the digital Hong Kong dollar. And then you've got delivery versus payment here. So Chainlink CCIP directly in this Visa document, serving as a compliance layer for identity verification, serving as obviously the interoperability layer and the bridging here. So pretty interesting. You could see the payment versus payment flows. It gives the breakdown in here. Exchanging Australian dollars against tokenized deposits. So that's kind of document 1. This is, again, 15 pages, not crazy big, but you can see in the shout outs, head of business development, Asia Pacific at Chainlink, and solutions architect at Chainlink, alongside Visa Crypto, alongside Fidelity International, China AMC and ANZ Bank. This is a second document. Now, this is a Chainlink specific document, but I'm going to follow this up with some additional context because we know, sometimes if you're looking at just an individual company or ecosystem document, sometimes they come with loaded verbiage. Chainlinks do not, I don't believe at all, because the names that they're dropping in here are so big that there's so much liability that will come with name dropping entities like that and doing it without permission. But I'll follow that up with some of the actual entities here that are basically showcasing the same thing. But I'll share this first. So this is Chainlink. This looks like this was presented at Consensus 2024, intersection of 3 trends. Again, it's an 18-page document. Some notable stuff, as we all know, the market for on-chain RWAs or real-world assets is actually hundreds of trillions. We see this range anywhere from 28 trillion by 2035 to whatever by 2035. But I think everybody knows the writings on the wall. We've seen documents stating, the real market is actually getting up there into the quadrillion plus dollar range with derivatives and everything else. But you see Chainlink here talking the market for on-chain assets, actually hundreds of trillions of dollars. Actually, they dropped the quadrillion right here with derivatives. Real estate, anywhere from 300 to 400 trillion, depending on where you look. Stock market, debt market, gold, insurance, global trade, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what's really interesting in here is when you start getting into the weeds with the developer platform and meta layer within Chainlink, you can see all of the ecosystems that there's ties to. And then I want to get down into kind of the DTCC stuff here. So this is putting NAV data on chain across multiple chains for fund tokenization. When Chainlink drops the derivative stuff up there in the hundreds of trillions potentially to be tokenized, it's interesting. You can go to genfinity.io and look at some of the DTCC patents that they have publicized that I don't think have been accepted yet, but talking about fund tokenization, real world asset tokenization, talking about a hierarchy of wallet infrastructure and permissions-based infrastructures for RWA tokenization. This stuff is like 1000% coming. And DTCC dealing with kind of global derivatives out there. So this image is from this Chainlink document, but Chainlink actually pulled this directly from a DTCC document, which you'll see here in a second. So you can see data ingestion, data transformation, data dissemination, data transmission, and data consumption. So this kind of starts at the fund level, batches into DTCC's system. A message gets sent into Chainlink. I'm assuming this is through CCIP. Relays a blockchain readable message over onto DTCC's Ethereum hybrid. This isn't Ethereum mainnet. I think DTCC kind of built their own architecture with EVM, if I'm not mistaken. And then you've got data consumption at the back end. So this is data getting into RWA fund tokenization. Proof of reserves for capital markets. You've got ANZ, who we just talked about. ANZ and CCIP, cross-currency, cross-chain settlement of real-world assets. Transfer tokenized assets to the buyer. Transfer ASDC to purchase tokenized assets. ANZ Marketplace. You can look into how big of a bank ANZ is. Connecting capital markets to chains utilizing existing global standards. I know, obviously, the rhetoric is that XRP is going to just supplant SWIFT and be the bridge asset for everything. I would argue that the network infrastructure that we've seen that the network infrastructure of these different ecosystems is going to be very important. And the underlying assets, as a byproduct, might get a lot of that value, but the actual network infrastructure and the value that's actually on these networks, or the connections that these networks can make into other networks or other assets or other markets, I would argue is actually more important than the underlying kind of asset that are running on these networks in general. So I certainly believe in XRP. I certainly believe in all, different assets, not financial advice to anybody, but I think, you have to kind of look at what's out there and look at what's actually happening too, instead of just spinning narratives. And that's not a negative thing. We can all speculate. I mean, we're all here to speculate regardless, but Chainlink and SWIFT, so connecting capital markets to chains utilizing existing global standards. So this is MT. Now, one thing also to note within this is the MT system is being upgraded through SWIFT into MX, which essentially is like ISO 20022 and all that jazz. SWIFT software development kit, MT signed with blockchain message. You've got the SWIFT system, signed blockchain message and metadata moving into Chainlink CCIP. Pretty interesting stuff. Global connectivity, kind of get it. So to create, there's more. This I wouldn't even consider like a formulated like deep dive into Chainlink. I just randomly started popping up documents and I'm just going to share them with you. So here's another Accenture and Chainlink research collaboration. Accenture should ring a bell to most people here, especially during the old Ripple and XRPL deep dives a few years ago. Liquidity without borders. Before I get to that, let me see, to provide some credence here. This is DTCC. This is actually from DTCC's site. This is from 2023. collaborated with Chainlink to explore token standardization as part of Swift's blockchain interoperability project, directly coming from DTCC. So this is not a Chainlink document. This is DTCC. This is May of 2024, the Smart Nav pilot report, bringing trusted data to the blockchain ecosystem, conducted by DTCC, 10 industry participants, and Chainlink. DTCC and Chainlink, and then the industry participants, US Bank, State Street, Franklin Templeton, BNY Mellon, JP Morgan. And this is where Chainlink pulled their 2024 consensus image from. It's directly from the DTCC document. Digital extension, Smart Nav, and you can see Chainlink right in the center here. So yeah, I find this stuff pretty fascinating. Again, you also have this, I think, is just more recent as well. This one, Accenture and Chainlink research collab, liquidity without borders. Accenture in collaboration with Chainlink, digital liquidity islands. You can see all the distributed ledgers with financial services activity. Get into Bitcoin. I think Hedera is in here. Ethereum, Finality. I'm sure XRPL is in here, and if not, it should be. Solana, Sui, XDC Network, Stellar. Actually, don't see XRPL in here. XRPL probably should be in here. But additional distributed ledgers on the horizon, modalities for growth, periods of diversification. So they're saying IDC research predicting that by 2029, 80% of industry ecosystems are going to leverage blockchain in some way, shape, or form for multi-party capital workflows, enhancing interoperability, transparency, and cost efficiency. Chainlink CCIP, standard for cross-chain interoperability, blockchain-to-blockchain connectivity. Case study, again, they're getting into private cross-chain token transfers with ANZ Bank. Being used by ANZ Bank under Monetary Authority of Singapore's Project Guardian. Building cross-chain capabilities. Smart contract engineering, cross-chain treasury management. All right, so in a nutshell, and maybe I'll do a more focused one. I felt like since I stumbled across that Visa Chainlink document today, it might be worth to actually do at least a tiny, I wouldn't even say this is a deep dive. This is just, here's 4 or 5 documents that I was able to pull up in, 45 minutes of searching. DTCC, we've talked about them many times on this channel. I found patents on them and have published, we published some articles on that. I've done videos on those as well. I think sometimes in this space, we kind of need to zoom out and look at the architectures that are being built and who's trying to bridge the gap. They talk about like liquidity islands, right? Even in crypto and blockchain, you have all these different networks that are, doing all this really cool, amazing, innovative stuff. But at the end of the day, it's not even about how they connect together. It's about how do the institutions connect in and pathfind for liquidity, between these different networks and between these tokenized real world assets and all that stuff. And you start looking into what Chainlink's been doing for the past handful of years. And this is not a sponsored podcast or video or any of this stuff. You don't even have to have 2 brain cells to start doing some digging and figure out, oh shit, there's something here. DTCC majors, Swift, obviously we know how big Swift is. We know how big some of these banking entities are. We know how big Accenture is. So yeah, pay attention to some of the documentation that's out there. I think it's pretty crazy. For some context and background, we did see a couple of years ago, and I don't want to confirm if this is still something that's happening or if it's not happening anymore because I can't find recent documentation, but back in 2022, and I should say I had to use Wayback Machine for this because HBAR Foundation moved over to Hedera Foundation. And I don't know if all the blogs moved, but Open Zeppelin to secure ANZ Bank's ASD stablecoin on the Hedera network. This came out August 24th, 2022. You can dive a little bit more into this. Nigel Dobson, banking services lead at ANZ Bank. Following the successful issuance of ASDC earlier this year, ASDC or ANZ is in a good position to explore further use cases, engaged Open Zeppelin to audit the ASDC stablecoin, may consider using Open Zeppelin for future security solutions. So I believe Hedera Networks integrated into Open Zeppelin. then I think, take the crypto news site with a grain of salt. I think somewhere here talks about potentially on testnet of Hedera, something was issued. Let me find it. Maybe I didn't see it in this one. ANZ completes landmark payment. I moved on from that last one. I had a bunch of stuff pulled up. Again, this is Nigel Dobson. And then another one here. I think it was here. Yeah, Dobson said earlier at Blockchain Week that the bank was taking a blockchain agnostic approach and also minted tokens on the Hedera testnet. Obviously, testnet doesn't say a lot, but then I actually dug up, and I don't know if anybody saw this one. This is older too, so take it with a grain of salt, but some older stuff from this is Nigel Dobson again. I'll play this real quick.
So because of we think there's a need to uplift that. And then look, I think there's a whole range of projects that will emerge as our customers better understand the value of tokenization of their assets or parts of their supply chain. So it'll be a number of conversations, but for now, doing what we do better, more automated, focusing on sustainability, and then also working with blockchains of the future. One of the ones we've been working with is the Hedera network. That has a great deal of promise. And we see some attributes there that are very attractive for us in terms of speed, transaction per second, and also the low-cost nature of the current network. And also its governance, right? It's governed by a range of very large organizations that host the nodes for that network. So it's quite a unique governance group that again, gives us comfort that might be one of the choices we make in the future as well.
So I found that to be a little bit interesting. I would also say pay attention to what some of these networks are doing. We know that there's pretty close ties to Hedera and Chainlink. Chainlink, obviously, on the governing council of Hedera. Hedera has integrated the Chainlink standard. I'm going to mess up the ERC for tokenization standard. I think it's 3643. It's probably wrong because I don't have it in front of me. But there's in one of these documents, it talks about kind of pay attention to the tokenization standards. ERC, let me see if I can pull it up, and I probably won't be able to, but don't worry if I can't. There we go. ERC 3643. Token standards are key to ensuring interoperability between independent financial institutions, providing regulatory clarity, setting industry best practices. Prevalent smart contract standards in the industry, such as ERC 721, ERC 20, and ERC 3643, have enabled actors to issue tokens and build applications in a composable manner. I think ERC 3643, and I could be mistaken, is directly correlated with RWA tokenization, like standardizing that. But I can look it up after this. I don't feel like looking it up right now. I dug up all this crap for this video. Anyways, pretty wild stuff. We see across the board European Central Bank talking T+2 24/7 and what that could open up for distributed or running on distributed ledger technology. You see Bank of Japan talking about all these major financial institutions across the globe kind of operating at breakneck speed to get through their trials. I think just last week, Deputy Governor of the Bank of France saying, it's time to move past the pilot phase and move into the operational phase here. So, and you have Chainlink, which, I'll start paying attention to and trying to mention more in a lot of these, not only pilots, but in a lot of these kind of real world trials as well. And I think to sleep on something that's integrated directly with DTCC and Swift and all these major entities, let alone all these blockchain networks, is probably, I don't know. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will talk to you guys when I talk to you. Thanks. Bye.